Alright, go for it.
Oh, Troy, hey, no, boy, I tell you, bring him in here if you're going to bring him.
Alright.
Hey y'all, I'm going to show you how to tie up a Carolina rig today. If you're not familiar with the Carolina rig, it's a little bit like a drop shot. I know a drop shot is a rig that's kind of more popular during modern times like right now, but I grew up throwing this guy right here. This is a Carolina rig. This is old school. Why they call it a Carolina rig, I have no clue in my mind, but it is called a Carolina rig. It consists of basically 3 components, 4 if you want it to. You got a sinker. Usually I'm going to use a pretty heavy one, 5/16 or heavier. This is a 1/2 ounce right here, just as heavy as you need it. All right, 5/16 to as heavy as an ounce. 1 ounce egg sinker is what I got here, and of course you got your hook. I'm using a 4/0. Oh, Troy, don't you get hurt back there? I'm using a 4/0 offset worm hook, and you connect that worm hook with a swivel here. This is like I'm not really sure what size swivel, but a small barrel swivel is what you need. So you're gonna have egg sinker, swivel, then you're gonna have 18 to 24 inches of leader material going to your 4/0 hook or whatever size hook you need to use to connect your plastic with. So what I like to do, I've got a 7.2 medium heavy rod here. This is a Phantom Rig series. Now, you can use a little bit heavier rod than this, and maybe it's even better. Quite honestly, I just like the power of this rod and the action of it. It's got a little bit of tip on it, but it's stiff enough to let me launch a heavy bait with a Carolina rig. And I'm using a 6/8 to 1 gear ratio reel, 17-pound test Strike King Fluorocarbon line on my reel here. What we're gonna do is just gonna start off. Well, let's start here. First thing you need to do, if you're going to use the line that's on your rod, is cut you a piece of leader material. Cut you 2 or 3 foot long. Longer is better than shorter, all right? Because if it's too short, when you get to the end, you got a problem. But if you've got extra spool of line in your boat, you can take it off the spool of line that you have in your compartments in your boat or whatever. So you're going to take your sinker. I use an egg sinker because I think it just creates more disturbance on the bottom. And you're going to thread that on. Second thing you're going to do is take your barrel swivel, and you can connect it with whatever knot you want to. I just use a Palomar knot on the entire thing. Thing about Carolina rig, you got 3 knots, one on the front of the swivel, behind the swivel, and a connection knot. So this just got a lot going on. When you break off, it pushes you down for 10 to 15 minutes. I know a lot of people like to pre-tie up their Carolina rigs, but I'm not one to do that. Palomar knot at the front, all right, and then you're gonna cinch him down. Make sure you moisten the line good. Okay. Sometimes a lot of guys on the back side of the barrel swivel, lead knot barrel swivel on the bottom side of the barrel swivel, they'll downsize their line. I usually use the same thing. My main line 17, I use 17. Bring them in the boat. I don't really get into a whole bunch of that. Back side of your swivel, let's go ahead and tie you another Palomar knot. And this, I'm using my leader material that I cut previous to starting this off. All right, wet that down. Then I'll cut the tag end of that. Always, when you're tying a knot, especially a Palomar knot, always make sure you leave a little bit of tag end on the end. You don't have to cut that thing right off where it ends at. Wet it again. So that's where you got it. Now I've got my barrel swivel. I got my sinker. And the last part to tie on, this is what we're left with here. Last part to tie on is just our hook. I like an offset hook. I think an offset, to me, it just hangs a little less, just because of the way the hook lays in the bait. Other thing I like about an offset hook is you don't have, as opposed to EWGs give the fish too much leverage to get off with the big gap that it has in the hook, between the hook and the hook point and the shaft. So you can lose a lot of fish with it. And then you kind of cinch that down with the Palomar knot. So now it's my 3rd knot I tied right there in the last 45 seconds. And this is what you're left with. Sinker. All right. Now, if you're old school from the 80s like me, 80s and 90s, we always used to put a barrel swivel, not a barrel swivel, we used to put a bead in between your sinker and your knot. And we had all kind of hypotheses about the weight clacking up against that glass bead on your you know, on your barrel swivel. I don't do that anymore. You hear guys say also that the bead protects your knot. Well, every other thing that I got in my boat does not have a bead on it. When I throw a Texas rig, it does not have a bead. When I flip and punch and mats with a 2-ounce sinker, still no bead. So I don't even use a bead anymore. It makes you feel comfortable to use a bead, throw one. So 1/2-ounce sinker, barrel swivel, 4/0 hook. And then I like, right now I'm fishing during the post spawn of the year, and I almost always like to use big baits on a Carolina rig. The reason you use a Carolina rig, especially this time of year, is it's easy to keep bottom contact with it. So when you throw out, let's say, a Texas rig and so forth, and you're fishing 7, 8, 9 foot of water, it's really hard to use a size sinker that allows you to keep bottom contact, but at the same time keeps the bait natural. I can use a heavy sinker to keep bottom contact and be able to cast it a long way, but yet the bait, the action of the bait is not hindered by the weight being right on top of it. So that's why you use a Carolina rig instead of a Texas rig. Just the bait is going to move through the water a lot more natural. A lot of times people have had a hypothesis that, you know, the plastic floats up behind the sinker, and if you put that in a pool or put that in a tank, you'll find out that really doesn't, not how the thing works. It looks much more natural on a Carolina rig on the bottom than it does when it's tied straight to the sinker. And I'll rig up my plastic. This is a 7-inch Mag Fattyz is what I'm using, and that's the bait. Really great for this time of the year. I like to use it right now. We're fishing during the herring spawn, and a lot of times during the herring spawn, if it's not windy, they will not bite reaction baits. They'll only bite something crawling around slow on the bottom. And so I'll throw a big Carolina rig like this with a big soft plastic on it to catch fifth whist this time of year. That's how you tie up a Carolina rig. It's really simple. You throw it out, drag it around on any of these flat points that you'll find. You can drag it around, especially grass, rocks, high spots, humps. That's where you're going to fish it. It's very simple, not really hard to fish at all. It's my Carolina rig fish. It's my Carolina rig setup, not my Carolina rig fish. My bad.